with another ACL tear at MetLife Stadium in New York/New Jersey. Let's talk turf. This is Dr. David Chao, Sports Injury Central, Pro Football Doc. Go to sicscore.com. Unfortunately, our in-game, immediate post-game thoughts on Giants wide receiver Sterling Shepard have been confirmed. The panel of NFL doctors at Sports Injury Central's indicated an ACL tear and likely displaced meniscus bucket handle type tear. That part hasn't been confirmed for him. In any case, season over. Now cue the talk about turf, specifically MetLife. A lot of people have weighed in already. Let's discuss it. Most have seen the video now that it's kind of a low energy, innocuous, no big deal play towards the end of the game. Sterling Shepard running a go route, eased up, barely jogging, turned back to the left because there was an interception, misstep, goes down, carted off, ends up tearing his ACL. Pretty simple maneuver, so people are wondering why. First of all, let's talk MetLife turf. But understand that ACL injuries are 70 or 80% non-contact injuries, and that was the case with Sterling Shepard. MetLife gets a bad name. It started in 2016, but in 2020, they put in new turf. There was some preseason injuries, and then early season, the San Francisco 49ers played there. Nick Bosa tore his ACL. Solomon Thomas tore his ACL. Jimmy G had a high ankle sprain, and there was a lot of chatter about the turf. The NFL checked it out and said the turf was okay. Now it continues. John Harbaugh of the Ravens says the turf is matted down nowadays. But matted down should make a slicker surface maybe better. Odell Beckham chimed in. He said, he made some comments about the turf, and he played there for a while. And his comments are that turf in general are not good. I actually invited him to come on to a podcast. He's rehabbing his ACL, and he texted back, though, that stuff pisses me off, and that's not the only field. Turf altogether is just tough with the speeds and intensities guys are playing at today. I agree with him. Now, Odell Beckham famously tore his ACL in the Super Bowl on turf at SoFi, turning back for a pass, fairly innocuous. But he had already injured that knee, and he was coming off an ACL, not the case for Shepard. But that was pretty innocuous too, so I can see why he cares about this issue. Look, as a team physician, when we used to stand on old AstroTurf, my back and knees and hips would be sore versus grass. Field turf is better than regular grass, but there is no question that grass is still safer. It's all about the shoe surface interface. So it's not just blaming the grass itself or the turf itself. We know there are less ACL tears on turf when it's wet and rainy because the footing isn't as good. It's like putting your ski bindings on for a beginner looser. You step out of the ski, the foot doesn't get stuck. Whereas advanced skier, you screw the bindings tighter for better grip, better skiing, but the foot doesn't come out of the ski and you tear your ACL more often. So it's about shoe surface interface. There's no question in general, turf is, quote, stickier and thus potentially more injuries for high ankles and ligaments, including ACL, whereas grass has more give. But there are incidences of grass causing problems. The grass pallets and with the Texans, with the seams and so forth. So it's about smoothness, evenness, consistency, and footing. And don't forget about the shoes. It's the shoes. The shoes have something to do with it too. Players want excellent grip to be able to be, as Odell Beckham points out, high speed, cut, plant, twist, do all sorts of things. That's how you really can excel. You don't want to slip, but slipping makes it safer. So sometimes the grip or the shoe surface interface is too high. It tends to be higher with turf, even modern day turf, than old AstroTurf. Currently, grass is better than field turf, sport grass, which is better than the old AstroTurf, but it's not as good. Across an entire season, statistically, there's one extra major knee ligament injury when it was last studied. So it's not as big as people think. Sterling Shepard was barely jogging in turn. We only saw one angle. From another angle, you might have seen the twist a little bit more. He was turning, looking back, and it was just really the perfect storm of what happens. The perfect storm of the field, the shoe surface, his muscles relaxing so that the protective muscles for ligaments weren't firing, the misstep, maybe there's notch stenosis, underlying risk. We don't know. I haven't examined Sterling Shepard, but it really was the perfect storm. And in that perfect storm, the turf can be a factor. But it's too simplistic to say without the turf, if that were grass, he wouldn't have torn it. But if you did 100 of those, there is slightly higher for injury on turf. I would be all for medically to have everything on grass. Grass, we talked about, has its issues. Dome stadium, sunlight, quality of grass. There's a lot of different things to consider. In a perfect world, a grass field would be better than turf in general, but it's not completely absolute. And if players wanted to have less injuries, maybe they pick different shoes, which may be a detriment to the game. If the DB can cut on a dime and you can't, you'd be safer, but as a wide receiver, but that's against what players want to do in the game. So there's the breakdown of the Sterling Shepard injury, the MetLife turf and grass. It is a factor, maybe not the only factor. And if it was purely about safety, yes, grass is better. Or perhaps you would outlaw certain shoes or something to try and mess with the interface and prevent some of these non-contact injuries. This is Dr. David Chao, ProFootballDoc Sports Injury Central, and information will still be all year long at sicscore.com. Hope that this explains a little bit of how this happens. Thanks for watching.